Thank you. Moving on to our next presentation, we have a bond update. Superintendent Hill, would you like to introduce the team?
I would love to introduce the team. So a whole host of our partners coming up here this evening. And so we have partners from Veritas, Tower Pinkster, and Chrisman here. Their slides will actually introduce themselves, but we're really excited about the presentation tonight because we get to do a reveal of the months and months and months of work going into the design of our first new build of the new Chippewa. So with that, I will turn it over to Allison to get us started off, and we'll do introductions. So let me share my screen here, and I'll get that up for you, Allison.
Similar agenda, so we'll do. So we'll have introductions and review some of the similar material that we've reviewed in the past, just so that there's some consistency with these reports. And with us tonight, we have a couple new faces. You know Ed Talaga with Tower, and Rob Crow from Chrisman, and Brad Boyer is also here from Tower tonight, and you'll hear from him, especially on bid package 3. And Landon is with the Veritas group, and he is here to attend tonight. What do we have next, John? You want to flip to the next one? So tonight, we will be reviewing the 3 items highlighted in yellow. There will be... We can move the microphone. I know, I keep moving, I'm sorry.
It's easier for you to see it that way.
So we'll have a design milestone update that will actually be second. So first, we'll get a construction update from Rob, and then we'll also discuss communication plans throughout. Next page. So again, I'll have Rob come up, and he'll touch on the construction updates that are ongoing. And then we'll discuss bid package 3.
Good evening, everyone. So the next slide has our typical graphic that shows the timeline. Here we are. So arrow indicating this is for bid packages 1 and 2, the work I think that everyone is familiar with, but we are moving along well with all that scope. Next slide, please. We're going to walk through just a handful of pictures, one for each building. And I'll recap what's happening. So Central Montessori, that is the main office renovation, the secure vestibule. There's also some toilet rooms. So these photos here are showing we're kind of at the stage where we've got the majority of that framed out. There's drywall going up. We're getting into finishes now. So that's on track. And I'll talk dates here in a few minutes in a couple slides. So that's the majority of the work at Central. Edgewood, again, with that modification to incorporate the secure vestibule. So some of the items you can see in the pictures here are the storefront, the hollow metal frames that'll hold the windows, and then the doors. So then that can securely pass people into the office for processing before people can just gain entry into the building.
I'm using the pointer over here now, so just beware.
I like it. I like it. This is good. It's good.
It was kind of fun, so.
And then Cornell, this picture is a little bit less dramatic. There's not a lot happening yet. We're waiting on materials there, but again, the reworking of some doors in a very thoughtful and affordable method to give that facility a secure vestibule, knowing that we'll do a full rebuild there in a couple years. So that's at Cornell. And then Bennett Woods, this is a shot. The existing office is over here to the right, but we'll have new doorways. And so we've done some preparatory work there, but again, just waiting on some materials to be delivered. For that to be online here shortly. And then the athletics complex, some people have seen this. We haven't done the official unveiling that's coming up. Stay tuned. But a lot of great things there. I hope people are enjoying that, but all the new paving in the plaza space there, access in and out of all the bleachers. So really great. And then, of course, the main entryway through the field house. So that's all going well. And then this is the soccer entrance. There's some signage that still has yet to be going in, but really a transformational project out there. Pretty exciting stuff for the sports teams.
And just a reminder that soccer entrance was supplemented our bond program with a donation from Mike Williams.
And next, so these are just some highlighted items. There are things yet to be completed. So a couple of the big muscle movements for that central office, that's online. We're tracking, and I kind of always have been expecting that to be first part of December. We're on track for that. A couple of the toilet rooms in one of the main corridors. We're a few weeks away. Those will be online on the 23rd of October. Moving to Edgewood, we think that'll be wrapped up by 1st of November. The Cornell Secure Vestibule is a quick turn once we get the material. It's about a month away, October 23rd. Bennett Woods, same timeline there. And then the high school athletics, although we're pretty much up and functional, there's a few finish items, what we call some decorative light poles that'll hold banners and the signage. Some of that takes a little bit longer to procure. So that'll be in over the course of the fall sports season. We're expecting mid-November to be done with that. Pending your questions, that's sort of what's happening now. I'm very excited to turn it over to our design partners for the real show tonight. Thank you.
Sure.
No.
Hello again, Ed Talaga. This is just kind of an update of where we are. So we're going to go over where we stand with bid package 3, which is the design for Chippewa Kennewa. Just a reminder that we did the schematic design for both Chippewa and Kennewa. And as we move past schematic design, we're going to just break off and focus only on Chippewa, as that's the first phase of construction that we're going to be working on. Schematic design, again, is kind of getting your arms around the whole scope, making sure that we've got that identified, and it's working with the budget. We floor plan, site plan, building massing and elevation are those things that we've kind of identified now and ready to move forward. So go to the next slide. Just as a reminder, we've spent a lot of time since this beginning of last November. We meet every 2 weeks for this building in particular with the principals from both schools, Chippewa and Kennewa, and we've had different user group meetings. So we bring staff in as we talk about different parts of the building that we need to get the inputs, make sure that it's reflected in the design. So it's a true reflection of the input that we've been receiving from all the staff, and they've had great input. We did have community input during the pre-bond process. So we've taken that as our guiding principles as we moved into more detail. And then we've also had focus groups, mainly to talk about parts of the building that we look at from a district-wide standpoint and try to have consistency throughout. So that's kind of like food service, administration areas, learn some of those things that we want to do as a district moving forward in all the buildings. And then lastly, we did have a good meeting with the students, got their input. Obviously, they're the users, so it's really important that we hear from them and that our design reflects that. So I'm going to turn it over to Brad Boyer. He's our senior designer, and he's the main designer for our plan moving forward.
So just at the beginning of a project, as we start to kick it off, we always want to work with the team to figure out what's our guiding principles or our design principles. And it's really our critical factors of success. And we use these to look back and reflect on as we go through the whole design of the project. We do it from early on planning, schematic design, design development, construction drawings, just to make sure that they're measurable, to go back to make sure that we're hitting the pieces that we need to. So as we went through and we're kind of creating some of these, we've got safety and security. Obviously, this is a big point when kids were being, we did with the students and stuff, security and safety was a great thing. But it's for, secure and safe environments for staff, students to feel warm, welcome, and inspired. And that kind of like, the last part was really driven by the students. They really wanted to be inspired when they walked into the building. Okemos Public Schools in this community is kind of the hub of the community. And so we wanted to make sure that the district continues that their buildings are not serving just for school activities during the day, but also after school activities for both the school and the public in the community. We wanted to make sure that we had well-defined entries so that people knew where they were going, whether it's for events or visitors coming into the schools. We also looked, as Ed kind of touched on district standards consistently through the district to make sure that we're following the same thing. Some of those things are with the secured vestibules, but we also look at materials and that we're applying them in the same way throughout every project. Flexibility, plan for future growth. Oh, this has got a little other piece to it, but it's also, we want to make sure that the buildings are flexible for learning. Every student learns in a different way. We want to provide spaces that help create that environment that we're bringing people to learn in different ways. And we're going to look at a few of those later on as we go through this, of what we've done in this building to kind of make sure that we're hitting on that flexibility. And then sustainability and green space, making sure we're representing the natural environment, bringing the outside in. And then one of the big important, make sure we're being financially responsible, ensuring the financial stability while being good stewards to the community and to taxpayers. This is kind of a site layout of Chippewa, and we kind of three different colors of talking about the phasing. So as we say, the first part that we're building is Chippewa. So this area in the red is kind of our first attack of what we're planning on building. Now, while that's happening, Chippewa has to maintain an operation. So you're seeing in the green that that's showing right now the existing Chippewa, which eventually will be housing Cornell Elementary while Cornell is being built. And then after Cornell comes out, we're going to then tear this some portions of this building down and build new Kinawa. And then in between those two phases, we have high school athletics for softball and baseball. This is showing, again, our site layout for Chippewa. So while existing Chippewa has to maintain, there's a few spots that we're keeping. So what we have in gray is what the school is going to be able to occupy through the construction of the new facility. There are some site adjustments that we have to make, student drop-off, parent drop-off. Bus drop-off will continue to be the same loop that you see now that's out there in front of the site, but we're modifying some of the parking to accommodate for what's going to happen in the future, and then a little bit of more modifications so that we can create. We know that parking drop-off at this site is a challenge currently, and we want to make sure we're providing enough space. So we've created 2 parent drop-off zones, and then those students will come in through what was an old entrance for, I think, the high school was there. So routing students here. We still have access of visitors coming in through that existing entrance. We're creating a secure vestibule similar to all the other schools, so that we're making a few adjustments that gets that up to matching what our standards are for secure vestibules. So there's a little bit of work that's happening to existing Chippewa. This is just kind of showing a massing of both Chippewa in blue, and then in the future when we come in and we build Kinawa and the second in the phase down the road. Now, it's a 2-story building. Classroom wings are 2 stories. There's some instructional space. We have a cafeteria above a media center, library above a cafeteria. So those are kind of those 2-story spaces. Same with, as well as Kinawa. And then the rest is really a 1-story, but we've got the high boxes on the backside. I think we go to the next slide. This was showing the 2 different versions. Here is with the existing and with the new Chippewa. We'll go to the next one. We wanted to kind of walk through as we end with Chippewa and Kinawa on site. There were some things that we looked at budget-wise that we talked about and analyzed how much of the existing building we want to maintain, renovate. So there's about 60,000 square feet kind of in the center of this new construction where we're maintaining the existing Chippewa gym, the existing auxiliary Chippewa gym, and we're repurposing those. They're going to stay gymnasiums, but then a lot of the area in between, we're moving our kitchen in, we're moving community rooms. So there's quite a few program spaces that are coming into that existing space. And part of what we were doing, our goal was to try and minimize costs. So is there what can we use? What spaces in the building can we have that can be shared by both Kinawa and Chippewa? And the big one was the auditorium. So we're kind of centrally putting that in the space between the 2 schools. Library media center. So it's in the space in the center that can be accessed from the east for Kinawa and from the west for Chippewa, share that space. Big one is the kitchen, consolidating the kitchens rather than doing 2 separate kitchens, 2 separate cafeterias. We do separate the cafeterias from Kinawa and Chippewa, but the kitchen is one main kitchen with 2 different servers. The students are always between the 2 schools separated, but we're utilizing that one main kitchen.
Can you show them the kitchen, where the kitchen is?
Kitchen is in this space right in the center here.
There you go.
My hand's a little shaky, but kitchen in the middle, the serving area that serves the 2 different. It's kind of hard. This line is representing our area of construction. Kinawa actually comes over a little bit here. So this is the Kinawa cafeteria, Chippewa cafeteria. Site-wise, a new athletic track, soccer, football field. The existing tennis courts are remaining. This is that future baseball area to the east that will kind of come between the 2 projects. But you can start to see we're building a new bus drop-off for Chippewa, new bus drop-off for Kinawa. This is our main entrance for students being dropped off in the bus. On Kinawa and Chippewa, there's kind of a mirror of each other. It's also our visitor entrance. So visitor parking is here. They come in to the admin area, having that secure entrance before being led out to the rest of the school. Same thing on this side. Classroom wings 2-story classroom wings on the first and second level. There's a couple things, I guess we've got shop, wood shop, STEM, tech, photo, video, new Chippewa gymnasium, fitness, our main building services where deliveries are coming in and out of, auditorium. This is the existing gym of Chippewa that will be Kinawa's gym. Music over on the side here for Kinawa, admin for Kinawa, and again, the classroom wings. There's a couple of things that we're gonna look at some enlarged plans of, and there are these locker commons. And they're really, the idea was to get, there's a couple things we're doing. We're creating these learning commons in the classroom wings. So we've generated to split up the student population to create learning commons in these classroom wings where classrooms can be kind of geared around that, where we have, we'll see a little bit blow up of it, but where we can kind of get some engagement. It kind of helps us get to that goal of different ways of learning. But to do that, we wanted to get the lockers all out of the corridors. We don't want all that in the way. We want to be able to use wall space for projection and teaching and learning. So we've created some large locker commons on each floor. First floor is, so for Chippewa, first floor is 7th grade, second floor is 8th grade, and Kinawa, same thing, 5th and 6th grade on each floor. I think we can, well, I guess a little bit more. We got parent drop-off, I might have missed that, but we've got 2 parent drop-offs. It's not one for Kinawa and one for Chippewa. The idea that these are being used, there's staggered start times. So it really helps alleviate the congestion of traffic coming on the site in the mornings for drop-off and in the afternoons for pickup. So that both of these drop-off lanes and pickup lanes will be used at the same time. Students can get dropped off here or here to go into Chippewa, and then later on, same thing to go into Kinawa. The idea that hopefully we get parents that are coming from the east using the east, parents coming from the west using the west. Go to the next one. Here we are, that little blow up of that learning commons. And again, this is kind of in the middle of that school between the parent drop off where students are going to come in from parents, and then we're also where they're coming in from the buses. So it's here and here. And then in that center area, we've got locker commons. So between each class, students are coming out of their classroom wings or from the other areas, coming in here, grabbing what they need to, and then moving off to their classes. And it's a great space for students to meet, to kind of have when they have that 5 minutes between classes. And it helps control sound during those moments. Like if students are coming out to grab something out of their locker during class, they're not in the classroom and disrupting classes that are in there. I think the next one, here are our learning commons. So at the end of those classroom wings, we've flared that design out, the building out, to get a lot of natural light coming in. And we have a variety of seating arrangements. They can be mobile and moved around. Gives us opportunity for instruction on walls outside the classrooms. And we're providing windows at the instructional side of it. So every time we come into a classroom, that's the instructional wall. That's where the teacher's kind of the front of the class. So while they're instructing, the door can stay open. They can observe what students are doing out in that learning commons. And then to support that, we also have small group rooms. So if they need to break off into a small group and go meet in small, to have a little bit more privacy, they have that. And then this is typical in each of the floors. So on each floor, we have this in each classroom, and in each classroom, we have that. And then the staff hub kind of adjacent to that space. So it really allows flexibility of the way you instruct and teach in the classrooms, to have options of how you break people out for individual learning. And then toilet rooms. Toilet rooms have kind of been a big discussion lately. Some of the things that we see is what can we observe to kind of control what's happening during those times where students are using the bathroom. So we've taken the approach. We've met Katie. I think we've met Andy. We went over these earlier on, kind of looking at different variations of bathroom layouts and how we can accommodate students and how they use them, and also make sure that they're observed. So this is the corridor in the classroom wing. Sinks are open to that area and allows visibility for staff to see what students are going on. We can monitor the sink area with cameras, security. We cannot do that in the bathrooms, but we can do it in the sink area. And a lot of times, everything that happens usually happens outside the stall around the sinks. So it allows us to have a good observation of this. So both boys and girls will be using these sinks. They'll come in, they'll use whichever side bathroom they want to use. We also, in every area we have bathrooms, we have a single-use toilet. So if somebody doesn't want to use either one, they want more privacy, they have the ability to use a single-use toilet. But everybody's using that same kind of area for the sinks. And this is really throughout the building. a little bit modified versions of this where we have the auditorium and where we have the gymnasium, but in a sense, the same thing. We're getting a little sneak peek of where we sit now with the building design. And this is showing our bus drop off and our visitor entrance. So what you see in the white, our admin office with principal's office, conference rooms, and assistant principals, so they have visibility of who's coming in. Same with the reception in their area underneath that blue, seeing who's pulling up, who's coming up to the front door to be buzzed in. Hard to see in the shadow with the way the rendering is kind of showing on the screen here, but a lot of visibility and daylight coming in that entrance gives a prominent canopy over top of where you go in, and then part of our design is like that wow and inspiration. We're doing this, a lot of glass in here, because and the back end side we want some big branding for Okemos. As you come into the building, you see that acknowledge the Okemos Public Schools, and then you see the two-story classrooming as it comes out. Next one, this is over at inside the courtyard where the students are coming in. So this entrance is really just for students. They're all coming in from the parent drop-off. And again, we're using materials to identify entry points so it's consistent around the building. So you see this material coming around, it wraps up and over. We're doing this at the visitor entrance, we're doing it at the student entrance. But this is kind of that area outside the cafeteria. Media center is up over here, and this is a kind of a plaza for students to sit, but it also becomes area for outdoor lunch. And this is just kind of pulling back from that corner view. Kinawa's, the idea is mirrored over and be very similar, a little bit different just because of what's happening in the other corner, but same concept. This is, we're looking at first floor of our cafeteria. This side is Kinawa, and this side is Chippewa, with our media center library above it. So we've got a lot of great daylight coming in for that media center up on the second floor. And then this is back, new Chippewa gym. This stuff over here is the existing tennis court. So this is our new entrance for the Chippewa gym and events that are happening. What you'll see is off to the side, you got a concessions window for outdoor events, and then they'll share bathrooms that are inside here. But this is where you're coming in for all the events, and whether it's the auxiliary gym or the Chippewa gym. We're still working on some, what are we identifying those? So right now we're just putting some words up that says Chippewa events, just so we get an idea of which side we're looking at. Next one. And then here, entrance over by Kinawa Gym and auditorium. So this is the existing gym, and this is the new auditorium. Again, we're showing something, potential branding on that wall as we come into the building. Little lobby area as we wrap around and go into that auditorium or to the gymnasium. That kind of covers the design and a quick run through.
So this is just kind of going back to the schedule where we are now. We're at the first blue dot. We're moving into design development. The next time we'll see you will be in February when we get, so now we kind of have the big picture. We're starting to work in all those little details and getting all our engineers and the rest of our team involved. And so we can go back to Chrisman and get a really good budget check at that time. So that'll be sometime, we're going to finish that phase in January. Chrisman will go through and do their estimates. And then we'll come back in February with an update on that.
And in the meantime, we'll be continuing our work with bid package 4, which will be the next time we come back with a bond program update. So the bid package 3, we won't get an update till February, but we'll be back in December to review the design efforts that are ongoing for bid package 4, which, as a reminder, is the secure vestibule and pool HVAC system at the high school, and then the utility infrastructure around Central to help with some drainage, and the Hiawatha car loop and secure vestibule and playground. The last piece, surely don't want to not mention that we continue to work through improving our communication plans. Started to have some great reports from Chrisman that we've been adding to the website. So starting to have some monthly pictures from Chrisman so that the community is seeing some of these updates regularly. So that's a nice addition. The newsletter is ongoing, making sure that we're seeing those regularly from the bond team as well. And then continuing to work through internal communication practices to make sure your entire district feels like they're getting the information they need. Come join us. So we will be able to enjoy that first ribbon cutting of the bid package 1 and 2 out at the high school on homecoming evening, Friday, October 6th. This has become a public event, so we look forward to opening the gates to your homecoming event and celebrating with all of the public who are engaged in those homecoming events. And that should all be in your inboxes as well.
Thank you so much. This is so exciting. I love seeing all the renderings. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Can I just ask a couple questions? First off, I just want to say up front that, Chrisman, thank you for being on time with Athletic Complex. I know at the last meeting I asked, and you've accomplished that, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I know the community does too. It was great to be in there. I was at the first football game, and it looked great. So I loved it. Awesome. So thank you. Just a couple of just random little things. How big is the auditorium they were planning? Just, I don't need exact amounts.
Starting somewhere between 600 and 650. Right now, our seating layout is around 640, but until we actually get working with the seating company and getting an actual layout, this is just our projected.
Gotcha. So it's big enough for one, either Chippewa or Kenowa, not both?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, existing Chippewa Gymnasium, if they did want to have an event where they want to get both schools in there, that can accommodate both schools.
It is possible, yeah.
And Chippewa new gym can really only accommodate the one grade.
One grade at a time. Okay.
So we've got three different different sizes. We've got existing Chippewa gym, large group, auditorium kind of in the middle. New Chippewa gym is for more of a smaller one grade kind of a gathering.
Cool. And then just, I guess, one request I had, I don't know who this is for. We talk a lot about bid packages. Is there a list of what all, I mean, I saw bid package 5 coming up, and bid package 10, is there a list of, this is bid, you know what I mean? So that we can kind of keep track? Is that, or is that a fluid thing? I mean,
It's very fluid. So while there's a roadmap, they're changing as we identify priorities with your leadership team. So there isn't anything to share that says this is what it is going to be.
Well, nothing you'd want to give us, because it's changing, right? We don't want to.
There isn't anything that we can say we're doing absolutely this, except for what we've come with you to date.
Yeah, I mean, there's a framework to deliver all these, and just one note that I wanted to add, and that's why I walked over by the mic, is not to overcomplicate it, but then there will be an element that I want the board to be aware of, that for bid package 3 for Chippewa, there will be subcategories as well. So it's very advantageous to us all to release some parts to bid and get it going, but we finish the design to do it. So it'll be like 3A, 3B, and we're still evaluating that. So just not to surprise you, but that's very normal to do.
Gotcha. I was just curious because I'm looking, I was like, oh, bid package 10, bid package 5.
There are several. I think there's 13 so far. I mean, there's a lot.
I think there's 12, and they all started with a number,
Yeah.
but we're adjusting.
They're fluid.
A program of this size, that's very normal.
Yeah, no, and I get that. I was just curious whether that was, and I can understand how that bit fluid. So, okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a few questions, if you don't mind. That's really exciting, actually, to get to see it finally.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about, because we've talked before about security in the architecture, how some of the elements that would make this a more secure school than what we currently have. Is that something that you can share some of that?
There's a couple of things that we're doing. We're doing it from everything from site access with people that are coming on site, how we alleviate something to happen. So there's different levels of security as we come through the building. So we have gates around the property that's going to keep people from going to the back of the building and driving around. As we get into the secure vestibule area, you come up to the building, you get buzzed into the vestibule. You can't go through the vestibule until you go into the office area. From the office, then you can be escorted out. But we also are picking up that stuff in the classrooms. So at every classroom entry, we have a little wing wall. Opportunity to students, if something happens, forbid anything comes into the building, we have areas for refuge where they can hide behind the door can shut. We're using solid doors. We have at areas of entry, we have, I'm trying to think of the name of the glass. I always say safety glass, but there's another word for it where it's a little bit stronger. Everywhere else we do have laminated glass, so it is something that somebody can't break and run through. Right, they would have to take an extra amount of time to try and get in there. But so there's a lot of things that we're doing.
And the ability to lock the door from the inside of the classroom as well.
And then every classroom has an operable window. So while in some instances you want to hide and be safe and secure, in other instances you need to get out of the building. So we're giving every classroom have that second opportunity of getting out.
Great.
And then Jason Russell, just so the group knows, our secure education consultant, has been working closely with our partners too, even as integral as how do we number the classrooms for ease of access should an emergency occur. So he's been involved throughout the design project as well.
Great. Thank you. And then as we were looking at the plans for the car line, as somebody who spends a lot of time in car line and cursing other people in car line, I'll admit it. Trust me.
Not you.
I'm sure we all are there. Will these car lines get people off the road faster? Because that's what we, people are stuck on Kennewa, and that's where our problems really
You're
hit.
getting a lot of stacking up coming in here, and right now, you can't quite see it, but there's a little bit of a ghost line here that shows the existing. So you're getting cars backed up here, and again, they're also backing up here as they're coming on to site, and they're kind of taking turns coming on. So if you look at where your site entry is here and where people kind of stopped dropping off, because they wouldn't pull ahead, right? Just it's nature of humans, they don't do that.
But it's right in this area right here.
Yeah, it's coming through, and it's, so we have, a limited amount existing now on site. So one thing that's about these two drop-off lanes is we're more than doubling the amount of traffic that can be on site. And the idea that hopefully parents start to learn, I'm a parent that did the same thing, and going through it and getting frustrated with some people, and probably people getting frustrated with me. But the idea that anybody coming from the east is coming in, they're going through that line and they're exiting to the east, right? So we're trying to minimize the amount of cross traffic that's happening right out in front. Same thing here, they're coming in from the west, they're getting up on the line. So even if you are stacking out here, hopefully not, they're not working against traffic coming from the other direction that's also trying to go in that same drive. So we're more than doubling the capacity of cars now. I can't recall exactly what that number count was, but it's with you opening up both of these lanes.
Great.
And we are working with the traffic consultant. We're waiting, they've actually taken our plan and they're giving us some recommendations, so their reports due any day now, so. And we'll take those recommendations and make sure we've got them accommodated here.
Great, thank you. And my final one, I was in that conversation about sinks in the bathroom. I'm curious of how it was settled that we would have shared sinks with boys and girls rather than.
In this area, whether as they're coming out, it kind of worked out in the classroom wing that trying to utilize to get a unisex in there for someone that doesn't want to use both of them, getting an area that we can observe it. So in the classroom wing is this way, like in cafeteria, auditorium, and gymnasium area, we do have a wall between the two. It's kind of hard to draw. I don't have that example where girls is on one side, boys is on the other side. But in this one, we're trying to be as efficient as we can with square feet on the building. And this was the most efficient way while still obtaining to have visibility looking at home. So every student is coming out and using that same sink. We have twice as many sinks. We doubled the sinks in that area because it's serving both.
Okay.
And so these sinks are a little deceptive. These are gang sinks. So there's 2 or 3 stations as you pull up to each one of those. So 3 here and 3 here.
And this is, I don't know if I love it. Do you?
No, I was trying to figure it out, but thanks for asking the question.
Yeah, I don't know if there's another way. I just feel like in some ways there's privacy, not necessarily like privacy, but some things are getting washed out in the sink maybe that maybe not everybody wants to know about.
Yes.
I don't know, but thank you.
I had 2 quick questions. One, in terms of doubling the car space, I understand that we'll also be doubling the population. So the difference. So I guess my traffic question is how sensitive it is to maintaining our current start times. It's a question mark.
Yeah, like this really, it would be if we had 5th and 6th start at the same time as 7th and 8th. We're not getting any doubling on that. Right? So by having that stagger, and if we keep it at a stagger, we're doubling it. Right. There would be a congestion issue if we.
So that's just that assumption that we keep them staggered is baked in. Okay. And then the other one is just a very small question on the locker commons slide. I saw music rooms. Is that music room storage or is that music room?
Yeah, just north of this, we have orchestra, choral, band, and then these are the instrument rooms, instrument storage rooms. So as students come in the day, they can walk right in and put their band instruments in the instrument storage. During a class, they're coming in, driving their instrument, going directly into the classroom, and then from there, they're exiting back the same way. So there's an entrance there you can get into the room, but there's also kind of like that area for instrument storage that you can go through, and you're not getting a lot of congestion going in and out of those classrooms.
Would you say the storage rooms kind of buffer
Yeah, as far as
music
sound coming through.
classrooms from?
And this area, we're controlling acoustics that are in there. This is kind of our buffer between something like music, lunchroom, and the classroom mix. So our instructional spaces are really buffered from it, from that large noise. And there shouldn't be a lot of noise happening out here while class is going on. Students shouldn't be out there.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
you're
seeing
welcome.
everything.
Yeah.
Look forward to next time we see you.
Renderings.
Thank you.